In a world where confidence often gets mistaken for clarity, today's video kicks off with a bold hook as we dive into the fascinating dynamic of how intellectual roadblocks form when provincial thinking meets the calm, calculated precision of clear-sighted minds. And as we break down this parade of perspective clashes, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss insights crafted to sharpen your understanding and elevate the way you navigate social and intellectual spaces. Because this channel is all about decoding the hidden patterns behind behavior, mindset, and influence, and sticking around for the next few minutes will give you a whole new lens for interpreting the confident. 1. The roots of provincial perception. Provincial thinking often emerges from limited exposure to diverse ideas and environments, creating mental boundaries that feel natural to those living within them. This mindset produces intellectual impasses because it prioritizes familiarity over innovation, comfort over curiosity, and routine over reflection. When such thinking intersects with confident individuals who have a broader worldview, friction arises as if two maps of reality are being forced to align. These moments reveal how deeply upbringing and environment shape mental filters, determining what feels true or logical to someone. A provincial thinker frequently sees new ideas as threats rather than opportunities, which slows meaningful dialogue. Meanwhile, clear-sighted partners approach these gaps with patience, trying to unfold complexity rather than overpowering it. 2. The silent strength of clear-sighted partners. Clear-sighted individuals often bring an internal calm that seems almost unshakable, and this intimidates those who rely on noisy certainty. Their strength lies not in talking loudly, but in thinking deeply, quietly observing patterns others overlook. This depth often exposes intellectual inconsistencies in conversations with provincial thinkers. When confronted with simplistic reasoning, they naturally respond with layered nuance that feels overwhelming to closed minds. Their confidence is rooted in logic rather than ego, giving them an advantage in any complex discussion. Such calm composure can be misinterpreted as arrogance, but it is actually clarity at work. This clarity forces the provincial thinker to confront their own limitations. Because clear-sighted partners don't seek dominance, their influence is subtle yet powerful. 3. Intellectual impasses as identity defenses. Intellectual disagreements with provincial types are rarely about the actual topic and often about protecting identity. When confronted with broader perspectives, these individuals feel their worldview slipping, so they defend even faulty logic. Clear-sighted partners unintentionally trigger these defenses by simply being consistent and rational. The conversation then becomes a battle between comfort and growth rather than fact versus fact. Identity attaches itself to opinions, making disagreement feel like an attack. This causes the provincial thinker to double down on flawed reasoning. The confident partner sees through the emotional disguise of rationalization. They identify insecurity where the provincial thinker insists certainty lies. The calm partner aims for truth while the other aims for self-protection. 4. The parade of contrasts. Whenever clear-sighted individuals enter the dynamic, the contrast becomes visible like a parade marching through subtle mental streets. Their organized thinking stands out against scattered assumptions. Their measured tone highlights reactive emotional responses. Their willingness to examine ideas exposes others' reluctance. What seems normal to them seems revolutionary to provincial minds. Every interaction becomes a display of mental habits. The contrast is not about superiority, but perspective depth. It reveals how differently people can interpret the same moment. The parade metaphor emphasizes visibility. These contrasts cannot stay hidden. This dynamic can either inspire growth or intensify insecurity. 5. Emotional mismatch in conversations. Clear-sighted partners enter conversations seeking clarity, while provincial thinkers enter seeking validation. This mismatch creates emotional tension before words even form. Meanwhile, the confident partner simply wants coherent dialogue. Their calm tone paradoxically makes the other more defensive. This emotional mismatch expands every small disagreement into a larger conflict. It shows that communication style can outweigh content. Understanding this dynamic explains why debates escalate quickly. The mismatch is less about intelligence and more about emotional calibration. Clear-sighted partners unintentionally expose unspoken insecurities. 6. The burden of always being the rational one. Clear-sighted partners often feel responsible for maintaining the conversation's sanity. They become the default mediators, interpreters, and logic carriers. The provincial thinker rarely recognizes this emotional labor. Being the rational one does not mean being unaffected. The constant need to correct, explain, or reframe drains mental energy. Their calm exterior hides a constant internal calculation. They mentally navigate emotional landmines while trying to stay fair. Their patience becomes both a strength and a liability. This responsibility can create resentment if unacknowledged. The dynamic becomes unequal without anyone intending it. 7. How confidence gets misread. Confident individuals often get misjudged as dismissive or superior by provincial minds. Their firmness gets mistaken for inflexibility. Their clarity gets mistaken for confrontation. Their calmness gets mistaken for emotional distance. In reality, they simply operate on grounded certainty. Provincial thinkers insert meaning where none was intended. The confident partner becomes a projection surface for insecurity. It shows how confidence becomes distorted through insecure filters. This point explains the projection process at the heart of many conflicts. 8. Why impasses feel inevitable. These dynamics repeat because both sides operate from deeply conditioned patterns. Provincial minds rely on familiarity as their anchor. Clear-sighted partners rely on logic as theirs. Logic tries to resolve what emotion refuses to release. Such cycles feel unavoidable because both operate from instinct. Recognizing these loops is the first step to breaking them. Neither side is inherently wrong, just conditioned differently. This point reframes the conflict as a pattern rather than a flaw. 9. The hidden role of ego. Ego shapes more of these conflicts than either side admits. Provincial thinkers guard ego by defending limited views. Clear-sighted partners guard ego by trusting their clarity too much. Ego makes admitting uncertainty feel dangerous. Ego becomes visible when conversations repeat familiar frustrations. Recognizing it allows both sides to soften. It points to where vulnerability hides. This point reveals ego as the quiet architect behind impasses. 10. Building bridges beyond impasses. The goal isn't to eliminate differences, but to create pathways across them. Clear-sighted partners can guide without overpowering. Provincial thinkers can grow without feeling belittled. Building bridges starts with acknowledging emotional needs. It requires replacing assumptions with curiosity. When each person feels safe, impasses dissolve naturally. Understanding becomes more important than being correct. This bridge building transforms conflict into learning. This point shows how intellectual tension can evolve into mutual respect. As we wrap up this deep dive into intellectual impasses and the fascinating contrast between provincial mindsets and confident, clear-sighted partners, remember that awareness is the first step toward shifting the way we communicate. And if today's breakdown gave you a fresh way to understand these dynamics, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another thought-provoking analysis. Because every week we explore the hidden mechanics driving human behavior, social tension, and the quiet power of clarity. And by staying connected, you become part of a community committed to sharpening understanding, elevating dialogue.